Left a salvage from this home in Indian-administered Kashmir, destroyed by Pakistani shelling overnight on Thursday. Villages on the Indian side of the line of control have been subjected to multiple attacks by drones and other munitions, according to India's military.
It's very tense. There's been heavy shelling. We saw projectiles flying through the sky. We sheltered in our homes. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like this in my life. It was a horrible sight, and people in Jammu and Kashmir are frightened.
India's army says Pakistani troops have been responsible for a series of ceasefire violations along the line of control. Normally bustling border towns, this is Poonch, are deserted. Residents have been told to stay in their homes.
So the situation is quite serious. There are many loud sounds heard during the night. We just want peace and calm. If the governments sit together and resolve things through dialogue, that would be a good thing. But if there is a war and conflict, then our countries will go back 100 years.
For Indian Kashmiri families displaced from villages along the line of control, a college has been turned into a temporary shelter. India and Pakistan have been exchanging fire since India's military targeted what it calls terrorist camps in retaliation for a deadly attack on tourists in Kashmir, which it blamed on Pakistan. Islamabad has denied involvement. It's the worst confrontation.
I think it's important to always maintain that at least thus far, there's been no evidence presented by the Indian government beyond just saying like, well, duh, they're Pakistan. Of course they're training terrorists. Like, it was genuinely shocking to hear the Indian government say, like the BJP official say on Western news, it doesn't matter that we have no evidence. Like, that was actually shocking. On Channel 4, you got the BJP foreign minister guy coming out and just being like, it doesn't matter that we have no evidence that they're not, that Pakistan is not directly involved. They've been doing this shit to us for 30 years.
Between the neighbors in more than 2 decades.
Yeah, I saw this Indian boy destroy the fucking reporter.
Pakistan zindabad. Zindabad. शर्म नहीं आ रही? क्यों शर्म आएगी? पाकिस्तान को खत्म नहीं करना चाहिए? हाँ? नहीं करना चाहिए। भारत देश जिंदाबाद है नहीं है, और पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद है नहीं है। आपका नाम? अपनी जगह पे सब जिंदाबाद। आपका नाम क्या होगा? तुम भी अपनी जगह पे जिंदाबाद। आपका नाम क्या होगा? कैफ। कैफ पूरा नाम? कैफ, मोहम्मद कैफ। कहाँ से हैं आप? मैं बिहार से हूँ। बिहार से। आपको थोड़ी सी भी शर्म नहीं आ रही कि भारत देश में रहने के बावजूद आप पाकिस्तान का समर्थन कर रहे हो कि कैसे खत्म होगा पाकिस्तान? अच्छा, आप ही न्यूज बना रहे हो तो आपको शर्म नहीं आ रही कि क्या न्यूज बना रहे हो? आपको शर्म नहीं आ रही है कि न्यूज बना के सबको फैला रहे हो हिंदू मुस्लिम के बारे में? हिंदुस्तान का समर्थन क्यों करना? आप पहले हमें जवाब दीजिए, उसके बाद हम कुछ बोलेंगे। तुम जो बोल रहे हो, वहाँ भी आदमी है, यहाँ भी आदमी है, वहाँ भी मुस्लिम है, वहाँ भी हिंदू है, यहाँ भी हिंदू है, सब तो है इंसान। तो क्यों सबको खत्म करना? पहले ये बताओ, क्यों करना? सबको जिंदगी जीने का हक है, सबको हक है, तो क्यों खत्म करना? आप पाकिस्तान का समर्थन करते हैं? कहीं आप जाओगे वहाँ, कहीं आपको खत्म कर दिया तो हो गया काम? आप पाकिस्तान का समर्थन करते हैं? हाँ, करते हैं। तुम भारतीय नहीं हो, तुम भारतीय नहीं हो। भारतीय है। आप जो बोल रहे हो इस देश को खत्म करो, उस देश को खत्म करो, तो सब में तो इंसान ही रहते हैं। मेरे को छोटी सी चीज जाननी थी, ये आपको सिखाया किसने?
This reporter is such a piece of shit because he's literally trying to like basically get this kid killed. He's like, what's your first name? What's your last name? Where do you live? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Like, that's crazy. He said, bro, I have a brain, man. They cut him off before he said, Hasanabi, teach me. Yeah, no, the kid was like, I don't think we should be killing anybody. I think it's fine for Pakistan to live. But of course, he's a Muslim Indian. This is what I see in the Indian Twitter, especially like Hindutva fascist Indian Twitter, where they'll call Muslim Indians Abdul and also a threat to India's safety and security. This is how a lot of reporters operate in India. They're complete and utter thugs. There's been intense shelling in Pog and Eog. The death tolls in the hundreds now. The ground rumors say the death tolls in the hundreds now. Neither Pakistan nor India media is making a big deal out of it. I have Kashmiri fans whose families getting bombarded by both Pakistan and India. The reason is Pakistan doesn't want to acknowledge the damage because it means that Pakistan has to respond. Yeah, look, I'm looking at this completely from the outside looking in. One, India and a lot of India's supporters are behaving very similarly to Israel supporters. So that immediately makes me wonder what the dynamic looks like. And two, as an impartial observer from the outside, as is the case in these sorts of conflicts all the time, there's one party that will always escalate and one party that will demonstrate restraint. And it doesn't feel like India is the party that's demonstrating restraint. Like, it's understandable to be frustrated in the aftermath of a terror attack, but it does feel like their retaliation here is even more violent and more escalatory than it was in like 11/26, which was a far more consequential attack. So there has to be something else involved here. I don't know if it's the buildup. Yeah. During 2611, a total of 175 people died and hundreds were injured. India responded through diplomacy with Pakistan. They provided Pakistan with evidence and Pakistan was forced to take action. It was literally India's 9/11 and the response was diplomacy. And now we're bombing mainland Pakistan without solid evidence. That's what I mean. How were they more restrained after that? And that was like direct. Is it simply organic buildup and resentment and Modi constantly hitting the Muslims button over and over again? Or that might play a role in this. The organic buildup might play a role in this, but like Modi leaning into it. I don't know. I like to look at these things and try to figure out who benefits from this, who gets material gain out of this. Ketty Spike, please do not compare us to a genocidal apartheid state. Ketty Spikes, I'm sorry, but Modi is also a fascist, and so is Donald Trump, and so is Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't think that's a controversial take at all. And also, they all despise Muslims in general, Muslims inside of their own borders, and certainly Muslims in other countries. Like, Modi has led pogroms internally inside of India directly. So I don't know how you can say that that's not the case. It's like identical. But having said that, given Pakistan and its intelligence services direct allegiance with the United States of America, given Pakistan's position as closer to China than India is, even though India has also moved to normalize relations, obviously, it makes me feel like this instability benefits America as the secondary player here more than it does China. That's how I feel. I can tell you who it doesn't benefit: civilians.
This is one face of a spiraling conflict with many more. A window into a dangerous moment in an old dispute. India claims this is a terror base. Locals insist it's a mosque.
What is happening right here?
A civilian compound, they say, with schools and a seminary.
This is the mosque main area. This is the main prayer hall. This is the court, central court of the mosque. And
the missiles struck in the early hours of Wednesday morning in Maritkay, killing 3 men. Hansler said it felt like an earthquake.
Lots of people had already vacated a week ago, so you feared that this was coming.
Actually, the government of Pakistan thought that it could be possible that India could attack this place due to all that allegations and all that propaganda that this place is a terrorist camp.
India has long believed this is the home of Lashkar-e-Taiba, a militant group designated as a terror organisation by the UN. But in recent years, the Pakistani government has taken control of the complex.
What response do you think Pakistan should take in this moment?
India has clearly violated international border and he is, attacked here, violating international border and killed civilians in the Pakistan. And Pakistan has very right, according to international law, to defend itself.
They feel locked in the crosshairs of the Indian military here, and resentment runs deep.
You can see where the missiles struck here. The damage is extensive, and locally it sparked instant anxiety and anger. A hit like this on an area like this has the potential to have a much more devastating impact in the long term.
Remnants of the missiles remind them more could easily come.
The whole roof collapsed. What has this done to the mindset of the local people here?
They are worried and they are somewhat sad that their place of worship has been destroyed and demolished by India.
India maintains it's targeting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan. The government here flatly rejects that and denies any links to the attack on tourists in Kashmir that led to this. Islamabad, though, has for decades been accused of supporting and financing militants.
Do you accept Pakistan has a terror issue?
Pakistan is a victim of terrorism right now.
Many here want to see a strong response.
This is a matter of national dignity for Pakistan. Our elders, our army, our government look compromised. They better know what they will do.
Do you fear all-out war?
Yes, both countries are nuclear powers. We don't wish for war, but right now it looks like it might happen.
New developments in the conflict between India and Pakistan. A Pakistani source says India launched another drone attack overnight. India has accused Pakistan of attacking it with drones. Major damage this morning near their disputed border in Kashmir. Listen to how Pakistan's ambassador to the U.S. described the recent violence between the two nations.
Started by India, escalated by India. It's the third night. Pakistan has exercised its right to self-defense.
I don't think India is behaving restrained at all. I'm going to be honest. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the Pakistani government either. Having said that, they are the party that is demonstrating restraint. It's nutty. I'll be honest. I did not think that they would hit inside of Pakistan. I thought they would like hit inside of Kashmir territory, or at least like show evidence and maybe conduct like a joint military operation or something, or get the go-ahead from Pakistan to allow them to conduct a military operation inside of its borders. They came in with zero evidence, and they hit inside of Pakistan borders, not just in Kashmir controlled territory. And then they said this is restraint. We're showing restraint after that, but it seemingly wasn't enough. And now they're going and going and going. I saw Asman Gold was covering this, and if you don't cover this as equally effort, Indians who are frustrated at terrorist attacks will keep leaning away from peace. India's always favored peace in part because they didn't feel confident about defeating Pakistan. Now they do, so they're escalating. Yeah, except I already gave an example where like Balochistan separatists conducting terror attacks or whatever in Pakistan. If Pakistan's retaliation was to just start striking India, I would say that's insane. You see what I mean? The funniest part about this is like half the chat will be like, did you see the Pakistan Muslim terrorists did to the Hindus? And then the other half is like, well, you don't understand. This has nothing to do with Hindus versus Muslims, bro. All of India is united. The main military commander that speaks out for these campaigns is Muslim. You don't get it. I know some chatters will say you're giving one-sided analysis, but if you want to see one-sided analysis, I suspect it's probably coming from Asmongold, who doesn't give a shit about either side at all, but automatically sides with India because it's more Israel-coded, Israel-adjacent, and also because they're killing Muslims, and he probably decides that, like, it's brown Indian versus brown Indian Muslim. That's a third additional factor involved, so that's probably how he lands on whichever side he chooses to land on that issue. But yeah, I don't think it's just Hindutva fascism. Hindutva fascism, as Arun has talked about in the chat, and it's talked about over and over again, creates a false sense of unity. It turns into just straight up nationalism, Indian nationalism. This is a great example of this as well. Again, the problem with India regarding Kashmir and also Pakistan is Indian nationalism, not just Hindutva. Every big anti-Hindutva opposition party, from liberals to the communists, thinks the de facto military occupation of Kashmir is fine and the missile strikes on Pakistan are good. The Communist Party of India has also, from what I've seen, taken a stance where they're like supposed to be the opposition, but this time they're not. Indian liberals and Indian communists will never betray the Indian state line. I got insights that I think Chad would massively benefit from if they want to understand Hindutva ultimately works. Hindutva ultimately falsely creates unity among Hindus, which were never a unified group before the British, but it keeps Brahmins at the top. Yeah. The salt stock dropped following the attack while the Chengdu manufacturer of the J-10s gained a lot, I saw. But it's interesting to see a lot of Indian chatters fall for the same line over and over again. Killing innocents in Poonch is restraint. Brother, is there ever a moment where I said Pakistan's decision-making has been appropriate? I'm just saying, India is united. Come out of your bubble. I don't give a if India is united, dumbass. It's like saying Israel's united. What? I don't give a shit. Would you care if Pakistan was united in wanting to nuke India? Would you care? Would you be like, oh yeah, that's actually appropriate? That's actually good? No, answer my question, dumb. Would you be like, oh, well, I guess Pakistan is united in nuking India, so I guess they have the right to nuke India. Is that reason alone? Do you hear yourself? I don't give a shit if India is united, dumbass. Yes, they are united in nuking India. Okay, well, I guess by your same logic, then they're appropriately doing the right things as well. Look at their parliament speech. Oh my God, brother. It's not about what they're saying. It's about what their actions are. And in terms of their actions, yes, their retaliation has been limited in comparison to what India has been doing. That's it. You can't literally look at the situation and go, okay, well, Pakistan has also struck back into India as well. I agree, they have. What has India done in response? India keeps upping the ante. That's the point. Look at the way that Israel and Iran dealt with one another. Israel escalated. Iran retaliated. Israel then retaliated, but only in an incredibly limited fashion. India is not doing that. India is not doing what Israel did with Iran. Why did Israel behave this way with Iran? The reason why Israel behaved this way with Iran is because they didn't want the entire Gulf states' oil refineries to be lit on fire. That's the reason why they had to demonstrate restraint. India is behaving like a madman without any sort of interest in demonstrating restraint whatsoever. The nuke here is an I'm exaggerating when I say nukes, you moron. It has nothing to do with nukes. I'm specifically talking, well, it might have something to do with nukes later down the line. I'm simply talking about action versus reaction. That's it. And in terms of action versus reaction, if India were to investigate the terror attacks, figure out who was directly responsible for it, maybe even figure out that there was Pakistani involvement from the state and demand answers from the Pakistani state and demand answers and also demand a military operation within the Pakistani borders, an operation that was conducted that was professionally executed, that actually limited the civilian casualties instead of erroneously striking mosques and shit, then yeah, that would be an appropriate and valid countermeasure against the terror attack that took place. That is precisely what happened after 11/26, as far as I understand. And that was a far more consequential and far bloodier affair overall. So the question I have for you right now is, why is India not responding in the same way that they did back then? Why is it so much, why is it that seemingly the appetite for death and destruction from Indian society, as you said, united, has gotten way more aggressive? That's something that I worry about. Do you see what I mean? Asmongold had a fairly balanced take. India had Gandhi. It's the country of peace and harmony. Asmongold had a fairly balanced take. Dude, Asmongold would literally laugh at you being ethnically cleansed if you're Indian, okay? He thinks brown people are inferior. What are you talking about? He just doesn't give a shit, but he is like seemingly siding with you, and that doesn't trigger any alarm bells in your mind. Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't even know that much about India versus Pakistan, but what does Asmongold know about India versus Pakistan? Holy shit. India bros are attacking you on Asman? Of course they are. I mean, go there then. Go there. Look at the thumbnail of his last video. JD Vance, India, Pakistan is none of our business. Pakistan Prime Minister just embarrassed himself on live TV. What actually happened in India? Muslim. Yeah, I wonder why people are looking at this and going, Asmongold has a really balanced take on this. It's two brown countries killing one another. The only reason why he's seemingly taken aside is because one of the brown guys is also Muslim on top of that. It's gotten more aggressive directly because of Hindu nationalism. Minorities are forced to prove their loyalty to the state lest they face persecution from the state. And the Nazis run the state apparatus. The only solution to this is to raise caste consciousness. You're telling me sending 400 plus drones to 20 cities and firing mortars and heavy artillery at the LOC and killing military personnel, showing restraint at every step? GOI has stated it won't show restraint if Pakistan retaliates. What are you... Do you think India haven't tried what you're saying for decades? It obviously doesn't work. Okay, nuclear escalation then, I guess. Do you think India has not tried what you're saying? So, okay, I guess there's no other option. Nuclear war then, chatters. Like, go off.
But basically, this is not the kind of simplified version of the security situation in the region that I think the world wants to see.
We're going to go live now to New Delhi, India, and bring in CNN's Matthew Chance. Matthew, can you give us the details of what's happening this morning?
Yeah, absolutely, Audie. Well, you joined me in a very hot market in the middle of New Delhi, the Indian capital, where I've been speaking to people about what they think of this increasingly dangerous standoff between India and neighbouring Pakistan. And, you know, the general sense you get here is that people are backing the Indian government. They think that the Indian attacks on Pakistan were entirely justified. And that's something that's reflected by Indian officials that I've been speaking to as well, because they're saying that they carried out the airstrikes on Pakistan because of the terror attack that they blame Pakistan for that took place in the Indian administered area of Kashmir last month. Now, there's security measures in place. Already, the Indians have cancelled schools, suspended schools in Jammu and Kashmir. They've suspended schools elsewhere in Punjab province as well, which is close to Pakistan. They've also cancelled all the leave that civil servants are meant to have in this country in preparation, they say, for a possible emergency response. So they are expecting, they say, attacks by Pakistan in the future, in the coming days, potentially. And I think it's fair to say the country is on a state of alert. So very dangerous situation, particularly when you consider, of course, Audie, that both India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons. We're a long way from a nuclear confrontation, but in an issue that is as tense and as emotional as this, it is a danger that really everybody is having at the back of their minds.
Let's stay with this story now and bring in CNN's Nick Robertson covering all of this live this hour from Rawalpindi in northern Pakistan. Nick, give us a sense of what the latest is on the ground this morning.
Yeah, when you're looking at Kashmir across that line of control, there has been intense shelling. People are fleeing the border area right now. That's what we're understanding. Overnight, Pakistani officials told us that India sent more drones into Pakistan. They sent 29, according to Pakistani officials. India sent 29 drones into Pakistan yesterday. One of them came down here, and I'm going to ask Javid just to give us a show and tell here. This is a cafe area. You see some of the metalwork ripped down here. Javid, if you can pan up, you can see there where the drone impacted on the building up there above us. And if you come down here, you get a sense of, look, the shrapnel literally splashed all across the wall here. It came down, the shrapnel marks all over the ground here, a piece of shrapnel lying on the ground. Now, it was about 10:30 in the morning when that happened yesterday. This area here is known as Food Street. Fortunately, at that time, it wasn't too busy, but the window fronts in all these restaurants were blown out. They're being tidied up today. But right behind what you're looking at there is the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium, and there is a major cricketing event going on here. Well, there was the Pakistan Super League bringing in international players. It's the main cricketing event of the year inside Pakistan. That, because the Foreign Minister said, actually it was the stadium that was the target of the drone. The organizers of this cricketing event have put it on pause. They're moving it to the UAE. That's going to cost several millions of dollars to do. India, in the meantime, is also now pausing matches in the India Premier League, major sporting event there as well. And it's ironic, if you will, that cricket, the sort of unifying thing for the youth of these two nations, is getting affected by these attacks. But this is what people are living in fear of. Here yesterday, one man in his mid-20s was killed, 2 people were injured.
Yeah, Nick Robertson, reporting live for us there in northern Pakistan as we continue to see the ripple effects of this conflict, and as many world leaders around the world watch to see if this continues even further into a wider conflict. Nick Robertson, thank you.
There's been new cross-border fire between India and Pakistan. It's raising fears the two nuclear-armed rivals are on the brink of a wider conflict. New video shows damage in the aftermath of attacks overnight in India. The Indian Army says it repelled multiple attacks on Pakistani drones and other munitions along the line of control, which is the de facto border in disputed Kashmir. Pakistan says it destroyed several Indian Army checkpoints along the border in response to what it calls unprovoked firing from the Indian side. Now, in his first public comments on the crisis, India's Prime Minister called for continued alertness. I want to bring in journalist Vedika Sood, who's covering all of this live from Delhi. Good to see you again, Vedika. With tensions heating up, where do things stand right now?
Well, every morning there is some development through the night that we bring to you, and that's what we're going to do today as well. India and Pakistan are trading blame over overnight attacks that have taken place. In fact, the Indian military has come out with a statement, and they have accused Pakistan of sending in munition and missiles from across the border in their northwestern region, and they have said that they targeted military establishments in these areas, a charge that Pakistan has denied repeatedly. I want to also now bring up a statement on X from the Indian Defence Ministry, and I'm going to quote from that statement. The Indian Defence Ministry said, and I quote them here, military stations at Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur were targeted by Pakistani origin drones and missiles along the international border in Jammu and Kashmir today. The threats were swiftly neutralized. Now, CNN has spoken to people living in these areas who witnessed what had happened overnight local time, and they said that the situation around them was full of panic.
Can we blame this on
and there
Trump?
was palpable tension.
Dude, how do you think this happened? J.D. Vance is literally the Antichrist. He visited India, and then the Kashmir attack happened while he was visiting India. This is directly Donald Trump. He said no more conflict around the planet. He was going to solve the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Day one. He said he was going to solve the situation with Israel and Palestine. Day one. We're now day 110. None of that has been solved. As a matter of fact, it's only escalated. And also on top of that, he sent his envoy, J.D. Vance, to first assassinate the former pope and put an American pope in charge, and then go to India, and death follows him everywhere he goes, obviously. So then that happened. So now he's directly responsible for India, Pakistan, 2 nuclear nations. Things are just getting worse and worse.
I also want to draw your attention to visuals that we're now going to bring up of the damage,
Terrifying.
The intense damage done to property of residents and to schools along the line of control on the Indian side. You have villagers who've gone back in to those areas that were hit due to cross-border shelling overnight. And you can see the damage done to the property there. CNN again spoke to residents of that area. And one young man spoke to CNN saying that he moved out with some family members while others stayed back. And about 50 to 60 of them were in just one bunker while that heavy cross-border shelling took place. Now let's just talk to you about the international community. I want to start with a statement coming in from the US Vice President. He did say that he is worried about the situation in the South Asian region, but he also said this.
We want this thing to de-escalate as quickly as possible. We can't control these countries, though. Fundamentally, India has its gripes with Pakistan. Pakistan has responded to India. What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little.
Bro, not only did he do it because he was there, but his wife is also Indian, no? That's crazy. Like, him saying that is bold, dude. If I'm your father-in-law and I'm like invested in Turkey in some way, shape, or form, and you came out and said some shit like that, I'll smack the fuck out of you, bro. I'd be giving you a call real quick. Be like, what do you mean it's not our business? Say Pakistan is the enemy right now, dude. Would you ever blame the terrorists? They were Pakistani citizens. Would you ever cover that? This guy is going to lose his mind. The International didn't care about the terrorist attacks, but they cared to support Pakistan. Yes, dude. We all love Pakistan, okay? You have to understand. We all love Pakistan. The international community, I talk to them. Why do you think I'm in France right now? I'm here talking to Macron. And guess what we're talking about? How much we love Pakistan and how much we hate India, dude. You nailed it. Everybody loves Muslims. The Western world stands with Pakistan, chatter. You are right, okay?
A little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of war that's fundamentally none of our business.
In other developments from within India, civil servants have been asked not to go.
That one chatter is so funny. Every time he says some shit, I just keep replying with the most insane statements. And I feel like he takes everything I say super seriously and gets extra angry, like I'm being sincere. He literally said, yeah, they did. The world did support them in the Bangladeshi genocide. Like, yeah, dude, I was being sincere. Thank you.
On leave over the next few days. And also there's a high alert that has been issued in most of the airports across the country. Back to you, Kim.
I appreciate you bringing us the latest on this. Vedika Sood live in Delhi. Thank you so much.
Well, joining me now is India's High Commissioner to the UK, Vikram Doraiswamy. Thank you so much, High Commissioner, for joining us here on the programme. Our correspondent Cordelia Lynch was just reporting there from Pakistan, and she also talked about the warning that Pakistan has issued, saying the world will find out when they do.
Why are you even a political commentator? You should be sincere. It's because I'm afraid. Can I be sincere with you for a moment? Pakistan controls the media. Like, everyone's wrong. People are like, oh, Jews control the media. Oh, the Irish control the media. It's not. It's Pakistanis. Were you afraid to bring the Yemeni kid? No, because Pakistan loves the Yemeni kid. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why I had the Yemeni kid on. Because Pakistan was like, you have to have him on. And I was like, okay, cover the Indian press conference. No, I can't. Pakistan doesn't want me to cover it. I want to, but I can't. Wait, so you're not funded by Qatar? What do you think Qatar is funded by? Pakistan. Behind every rock is Pakistan. My life for Pakistan. I want to be in the Pakistani Air Force.
Strike back. How concerned are you that this thing is just going to start to escalate?
Let me
Anonymous.
point out
Pakistani government. Give this 100
Pakistan's sponsored terror group's attack on civilians in Pahalgam on 22nd April. You know, our response thereafter was precise, targeted, reasonable, and moderate. It was focused principally and solely on terrorist infrastructure. We did not strike the Pakistani military establishment. We did not strike national infrastructure. And we made...
This is literally Israel, dude. The Turk is proud of his own creation. That's the real secret. Behind Pakistan is Turkey. That's the real meta. Pakistan is behind the media, but you know who's behind Pakistan? Recep Tayyip Erdogan, baby. Adolf Türkler. Adolf Türkoğlu.
Made abundantly clear, including in the briefing that was given yesterday morning by our permanent secretary, our foreign secretary, and by military officers, that the object of this exercise was clearly to avoid military escalation. The fact was actually acknowledged in a left-handed way, of course, by the Pakistani side in terms of their own statements, official statements, which said that the airspace hadn't been violated and that, no military establishments were attacked.
And yet they did say that civilians were killed in this attack.
You see the images that they put out themselves. These were at places well known and identified even in Western media for many, many years as central points in the terrorism infrastructure of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Hizbul Mujahideen, well-known parts of that infrastructure and those establishments.
Can you confirm that the leader and...
Did that one Indian chatter stop posting? Because I really love him. Hassan, why are you so biased on this issue? It actually is. You are the most biased. I already told you because Pakistan controls the media. Where is the guy? This is the other guy, but I want the previous guy. He was way funnier because he seemed more sincere. This guy is just like trolling. I mean, can you at least try to understand the Indian side? I do. What do you mean? I get it. Hindus were directly targeted in occupied Kashmir territory by radical elements that get training inside of Pakistani borders. I know. I understand it. I have addressed this already. I'm simply talking about state versus state violence and what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. I'm here. Don't worry. I would be here till you cover India. They didn't. Pakistan has shown no proof. To be honest, Kemal Atatürk inspired the Pakistani movement. Yes, finally. They were Pakistani citizens, not inside the border. They have bombed our country for years now. Anyway, the Hindu supremacist movement is kind of silly with respect to within the context of Western hegemony. Dude, it's not. There are so many Indians, bro. It's actually not like that at all. It's actually pretty severe over there. It's unironically like Western elitist, Western chauvinist attitudes that somehow belittles like India and Indian fascism, because we're just like, oh, they're over there. When they come here, they're like second-class citizens. Who gives a lol? It's this weird white supremacist attitude that we have towards a nuclear nation with billions of people in it that have grown this like incredibly unstable fascist movement that in times of terror attacks like this one basically unite the different factions of the government, makes it a billion-man strong fascist army. That's terrifying. You know what I mean? The Hindu nationalist orgs operating in the U.S. like Hindu American Foundation, it's operating right under their nose. Yeah, they're trying to do Israel lobby shit too. Hindutva is irrelevant. RSS made the statement that they want to break India and unite and do communal disharmony. Hindutva are losers, dude. More people voted directly against them. Hindutva would not survive. It's not related to this. Hindutva is irrelevant. RSS made a statement that they would break the India and unite and do communal disharmony. Like, what will it take for... Marshall, what would you say is an escalation from India? If India did, what military action would you consider that to be a severe escalation and they need to dial it back? The American Hindutva organizations are irrelevant. No, they're not. What would cause you to say, okay, maybe India went too far? I'm serious. I want to know. Directly attack civilians, open firing like Pakistan? If they do it, I would say they went too far. Bro, what are you talking about? They did it the first night. The mosque that you say is a terror mosque was civilians. Like, what are you saying? How do you look at that and go, well, that's a terror mosque. That's where the madrasa is, where they learn how to do terrorism. If they were civilians, why did Pakistani army went to the funeral of terrorists? What? Dude, I don't know how to answer this question. Like, do you think, I'm sure he's going to talk about it right now, but do you think like the kids that died were terrorist militants or something?
The founder of Jaish-e-Mohammed's family members were killed in this strike?
Well, they put it out on their own social media. This is not us confirming. It is on well-known hand.
Yeah, bro, that's his family, dumbass. We already know this from day one. BBC reported on it too. He will never recover if you skip this. I know, but I don't want to piss him off that much. Well, let's just keep watching.
Social media handles of the group.
High Commissioner, I want to ask you about Chinese-made Pakistani fighter jet planes that say they shot down at least 2 Indian military aircraft on Wednesday. What is your reaction?
You're viewing a few new haters of this one. Few? Like Hassan doesn't understand India crowd is going to be so much larger. I think that's a far, far more consequential enemy base than anything. The Hassan says Israel crowd is... They have a lot of motion, right? They have institutional legitimacy. They can flex their institutional muscle. They can get articles written about me in the Free Press and Daily Mail, stuff like that. Hassan is anti-India crowd, on the other hand, has one thing that Israel will never have. Raw numbers. Same level of loyalty, if not crazier. Same level of anti-Islam sentiment baked into their collective consciousness. But more importantly than anything else, raw numbers. It is truly a terrifying force to reckon with. I am legitimately more afraid of the Indian audiences coming after me than I am of like India nuking me, okay? To be honest, you yourself are far more removed from India than you are from the MENA region. Oh, this is true. This is true. I'm the first to admit that I'm not the most knowledgeable on this stuff. But anytime I've opened the door into Indian people's business, I actually have shuttered the door in fear because the new technology that I see, like the new racism technology that I see on Indian Twitter, is parts hilarious, but parts terrifying, where I'm like, how did they come up with these? Like, how did they come up with this kind of racism? And it's such a crazy racism. I guess I can bring it back to my experience as like a Turkish man growing up in Turkey and then coming to America. And as soon as I came to the United States of America, despite looking white, I lost my in-group status because when I was in Turkey, I'm a part of the dominating in-group, right? In America, all of a sudden, my name is Hassan. You know, post 9/11 America, I'm going to experience some levels of stereotyping, a little bit of bigotry, all that stuff. So I understand how Indians operate in the way that, like, if they are the upper caste in India, and then they come to the United States of America, they carry over that supremacist attitude here, and they can't even contend with why Americans don't see them as such. Like, they don't understand. From the American's perspective, the highest of the highest caste Indian man is still Indian. Americans literally will look at you and go, what are you saying? You're brown. Like, they'll hit you with, like, the most basic levels of racism. In the same way that, like, Turks who find themselves to be above Arabs, for example, on the racial pecking order within Islam, they don't realize that the Western world does not treat them any differently than they treat Arabs. They look to Turks and they look to Muslims and they look to Albanians as well in the same way that they look to Arabs. Does that make sense? Same with us Iranians. Yes, Iranians is another great example of this. Like, there is a racial pecking order where white supremacy is supreme. It is the most supreme version of racism. It is the most domineering force on this planet. Its underpinning comes from colonial exploitation for centuries. It's undefeated. It's a totally different demon. For all the Indian chatters in here that are like maybe operating with a different understanding, you are not qualified to talk on this subject. You just generalize. Hassan is so racist. These generalizations are so crazy. Have you ever met Indians? But isn't Muslim Twitter pretty racist as well against Hindus? That's not true. Have you ever met Indiana? I've met Indiana. These generalizations are crazy. Hassan is so racist. You just generalize old Indians. You are not qualified to talk on the subject. You don't know any of it. No, I'm not. Casteism is horrible. Oh my God. I never said you are justifying it. Just be careful. Use of hyperbolic language to the best of your ability with this one. If Arun is still in the chat here, after this video is over, we'll have him on.
Response to that?
Well, you had the defense minister on your show a couple of days ago. He said that the evidence for that was on social media.
This is my favorite type of commentary, though. I'm Pakistani. Pakistan and India, corrupt governments are in bed with each other, and this is all a hoax to improve their status among some people who don't understand. BJP's Modi has done this every time just before election to get votes. Pakistani and Indian population is not worried about it. I don't think that that's the case, man. I'm going to be honest. I feel like they definitely do care. Like, the populations definitely do care about this. And I don't know if they're in collaboration with one another. If you were to say both the Pakistani administration and the Indian administration are corrupt, I agree 100%. But if you think that they're in cahoots with one another, I don't agree. I don't think they are. I wish they were, so that, they would just slowly peter away from the tit for tat.
By that yardstick, today's media all over in India over the last 3 hours has reported the shoot down of 2 Chinese-made fighter jets and an F-16 and an airborne early warning platform.
Well, High Commissioner,
I don't believe, the point that I was trying to make, if I may just complete that, if it satisfies Pakistan's ego to say that they've done something, they could have used that as an off-ramp to move on. But clearly they chose not to, and they've continued to escalate the matter.
This is a report I'm reading from Reuters based on 2 US officials telling Reuters this.
He's like, no, it's a lie. That didn't happen. Pakistan is just lying to make themselves feel better. But obviously, it's a lie because they're still escalating, which is crazy to say they're the ones who are escalating. Pakistan is escalating. And then she checks him. She checks him with a Reuters report to be like, well, seems like Western media is also saying this. To which I hope he retaliates. Well, as you know, Pakistan controls the media.
They're saying it's the first time that Western officials have confirmed that there was high confidence that Pakistan had used the Chinese-made J-10 aircraft to launch air-to-air missiles against Indian fighter jets, bringing down at least 2.
This is something that, let's ask Reuters. But my larger sense is that there is no evidence of that. We haven't actually confirmed any such thing. The better point is to ask, actually, if all of this is true, and if Pakistan has essentially succeeded in making its point as it wanted to, why are they not stopping? The question you have to ask yourself, however, is the other one, which is that if
but
Pakistan...
the question is literally, why is India not stopping? If they actually carried out a successful attack and none of their planes fell, why is India not stopping? Shouldn't the journalist at the table ask that question? She's just so biased.
Pakistan says it's retaliating, as my colleague...
India has stopped? Brother, there are reports that they hit another military base. What are you talking about? India has stopped. We were just returning fire. Okay, so India hasn't stopped. I like that every party involved is like, no, you don't understand. We're retaliating. Like Pakistan's like, no, you don't get it. We're retaliating. India's like, no, you don't get it. We're retaliating. So the event that unfolded all of this, the first strike, India claims, was the attack on Kashmir. They have thus far not brought out any information as to why this was a operation conducted by the Pakistani intelligence or the Pakistani government. They just simply went with, it's our word against yours.
Pakistan High Commissioner said here yesterday, what are they retaliating about? They're retaliating against attacks on terrorism infrastructure. So what does that tell you of their relationship with the terror groups?
Well, they're saying that they're distancing themselves completely from Pahalgam, and they're saying they had nothing to do with it. They've said that they've asked for an investigation, and India has refused an international investigation that they were happy to cooperate in.
Well, this is a story we've heard multiple times before. In 2016, after the...
In the coming days, you should invite someone more knowledgeable on the subject. I have. You're just not going to like it. And after this video is over, I will, once again. You're just not going to like what he's going to say. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Check getting triggered in time, -20 alert, yeah.
But court attack, which you referred to, we offered them an unprecedented amount of access to an Indian Air Force base, which had been attacked at Pathankot. DNA sample.
Like, he's like, Chad is like, dude, you don't understand. India's not actually attacking. They're just retaliating. Pakistan military spokesperson says Indian airplanes fired missiles on an airbase in Rawalpindi. He adds that multiple military bases were targeted by Indian missiles. But that's just retaliation, dude. You don't get it.
Samples, telephone records, the whole works. It was supposed to be a joint investigation. We never got invited for the second part of it.
And then everybody points to the the Pakistani defense minister admitting to harboring terrorists. I know, man. I saw that too. I know. And I know what he was talking about, okay? I've covered it extensively. Some might even say part of my America Deserved 9/11 actually is directly what he's talking about, okay?
Frankly, each time, if you go all the way back to 2008 to the Mumbai terror attacks, where a substantial amount of information and material evidence was provided to the world and to Pakistan, who made the same generous offer of cooperation.
One of the funniest things out of all of this has been to see all of the Defend the West white supremacist accounts all posting so aggressively about India. How did that happen? I don't know what happened, but so many of the Defend the West, Greek statue avatar, white supremacist accounts all of a sudden are incredible experts that seemingly always align with India. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know how that happened, but I'm seeing so much of it. All the pro-Israel accounts that are also white supremacist accounts that are like, we got to defend the West from Muslim invasion. Every single one of them is posting about India right now. What is this? Casteism is insane.
They've used it for is to hide their tracks.
Caste discrimination is fucking insane. My friend is marrying a different subcaste of Brahmin than she is. Her future stepmom literally said she will have to wash her house with holy water after she visits, and said that her kind is not worth being anything other than prostitutes. I swear to God, what?
And to take away fundamentally what are assets of their deep state.
High Commissioner, I'm just going to keep you there because I just want to give our viewers and audience some context and bring that in. And I just want to pause for a moment, just remind our viewers how the two countries stack up against...
Dude, it's so crazy because it's like, it's the meme of like the Indian flag, Pakistani flag, and it's two brown dudes going, I hate your guts and I hope you die, right? That's the American attitude. You are taking his word for it. Good job. Bro, I'm taking your word for it too. Listen, Arun, who I know, who is Indian, he confirmed the story. He said that is a likely story. Yeah, that tracks. Okay, I know he's Indian. I don't know if you're Indian or not, and I take your word for it too. And I don't even know if you're Indian or not. Yeah, Arun is Tamil. So what's up? Yeah, I'm gonna take his word for it. What happened? You were like, Indian voices matter. And then when I actually listened to Indian voices, you're like, no, not those Indian voices. He's like, not those Indian voices, just my Indian voice matters. Motherfuckers are more racist than white people. That's hard to say. I don't think that they're more racist. They're just like a different kind of racist. But also in the same way that they also experience racism as well from white people. I don't want to go that far, but they do have like the ancient tomes of racism. Like they have really unique ways of being racist, which is crazy. But from the perspective, and I'll admit, like even myself as a Turkish person or even as an American citizen, I look at that and I'm like, why are these motherfuckers yelling at one another? Like, why do they hate each other so viciously, right? And that is unironically the Western attitude here, where they're like, look at these brown dudes killing each other. This makes no sense. Like, that is how they look at this. They're like, what is going on?
Each other militarily. Now, India has over 1.2
This is, by the way, this is before. I mean, it's like the Balkans, okay? It's kind of like the Balkans, but with like thousands and thousands of years of more history and more racism and calcified caste system on top of that. It's like Balkan posting on steroids, but then there's also internal conflict in India as well. I mean, there's internal conflict in Pakistan too, but there's certainly a lot of internal conflict in India as well. And then on top of that, there's like internal caste conflict. It's too much. Figure it out, man. You need Maoism. You needed an Indian Mao so bad. He would have whipped this shit up straight. I'm not talking Gandhi.
Active personnel in its army. Pakistan has less than half of that, 560,000. In the Navy, India has 75,000 active personnel and Pakistan has 30,000. In the Air Force, India has almost 150,000.
Indian Mao, whose name would probably be like Stalin Hitler or something.
Personnel,
uniting all sides of Indian politics.
Pakistan, again, has less than half with 70,000. But let's look at the Chinese factor now into the equation. China is by far Pakistan's largest weapons supplier, providing 81% of imports from 2020 to 2024. In contrast, Russia is your country's largest supplier, India's, and provided 36% of its weapon imports in the same period. How worried is India about the China factor?
I don't see why we should be. The Chinese have a relationship with us also. Their own statements of yesterday from their Foreign Office and their Foreign Office spokespersons have been, by the broad metrics of the reactions elsewhere, been largely in the center. I don't see why that should be a factor.
It doesn't worry you then that they supply such a high...
Damn, she's glazing the Chinese weapons, dude. She's like, India is seeing the glories of the Dongfeng missiles. The Dongfeng missile systems... Does it worry you? Does it make you cower in your boots, sir, to see the glory of China's weapon systems? The rest of the world certainly is watching what it looks like when Western weapons are met with superior technology from China.
Level of military hardware to Pakistan, 80% or so. And that's the accusation in terms of what shot down these two Indian military aircraft?
Well, according to the same sets of unknown and unnamed people, we've supposedly shot down two Chinese fighters earlier today. I don't know if these are true. Nobody knows if this is true, unless actual evidence is put out of it, although the press is now suggesting in India that they've even had pilots who've ejected and been captured. Now, the reality is simply this. China requires a relationship with all of its neighbors. That includes us. Its defense relationship with Pakistan is long-standing. It is for Pakistan to decide whether it chooses to use its military hardware for its self-defense or to actually attack other countries. This has been the problem even with material supplied by the United Kingdom or by the US in the past. Essentially, it's been taken on the guise of fighting terror.
He's lying, but Pakistan did shoot down Rafales, show the evidence to make Indian chatters bald. I don't want them to bald.
Like the F-16 aircraft, bought in the mid-2000s. And as we all know, the F-16 has principally been used against us, including in 2019.
That's correct. Pakistan says that it will strike at a time and place of its choosing, and India will be made aware of that. Is India worried and preparing for this and potential scenarios?
We have made it abundantly clear in our official statement, again, as I said, both yesterday and today. We're not looking for an escalation. But if Pakistan responds, as we have done, we will respond proportionately and in exactly the same line.
Which would be what? Targeting these terror bases or
Well,
beyond?
look, if we have said if the military is attacked, we had not attacked their military. As they've now started trying to attack our bases, we've hit back at their air defense systems and at their units too. But I do want to remind everybody that for the last 15 days, they've also opened up artillery fire along the line of control, also in Jammu and Kashmir. So that has had a civilian toll. So for everybody who's worrying about that, this has been going on for the last 2 weeks.
I just want to come back to this point on the Indian military aircraft. I know India is not confirming this situation. There are now Western officials coming out. The French have said that they have an understanding that the aircraft, the Rafale that India has been hit. Are you concerned that you're going to continue to have this kind of loss?
I don't think so.
I feel like she's egging him on. She's like, come on. They got them Chinese missiles coming out the wazoo. Bro, they are up the Indian Air Force real bad. What do you have to say to this? He's actually pretty reserved, for the record, all things considered, you know?
So, what is the purpose? First of all, we don't know if this has happened. But as a famous British admiral once said, the purpose of military infrastructure and hardware is for it to be used, right? If it serves its purpose, and it all serves its purpose brilliantly, I think there is little doubt that we have hit with great precision as many as 9 terror infrastructure camps. We have shown we have the capacity to hit with surgical precision at individual buildings within the terror camps. What we are then signaling is we have the capacity, if Pakistan escalates it, we have the capacity to really punish them harder.
High Commissioner, I just have a minute left, but I've spoken to a retired general who in Pakistan who referenced India funding and backing the Baluch Liberation Army. They said that they have done that for years, and when I asked him about Masood Azhar, he said, well, their family members were targeted. Should we be doing the same to, the high-level militants from the BLA, the Baluch Liberation Army, that are seen and operate within Delhi?
Well, look, let me show you this photograph of yesterday, I believe it is, to your viewers. This person here is a sanctioned terrorist under the American sanctions regime. His name is Hafiz Abdur Rauf. He's the brother of the founder of the terrorist groups that you're mentioning. Look who's behind him, Pakistani military. Look at the coffins there. They have the Pakistani national flag. If you're going to be giving terrorists state funerals, what does that make of your system?
Bro,
everybody knows that for the last 30 years.
I just realized this guy is the chatter. This guy is the chatter. He dropped every talking point that the chatter's been blasting. Oh my God. Dude, that's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. Are you him? Yeah, notice how he didn't respond to what do you have to say to the evidence that suggests that India has been offering training and logistics to the Balochistan Liberation Army. And he's like, well, look at this photograph. That's pretty sick. It's better your big brain stay out of this conflict. And I don't know what the context is, but what I do know is he did not respond to the question, because the question has nothing to do with whether or not Pakistan is allowing fundamentalists to exist and to even train within its borders. That is true. We know that is true. The question is what you do about it. This is precisely the reason why I kept saying, like, okay, well, there's Balochistan separatists that India has offered training to. Like, is it okay if Pakistan strikes India? And when I ask that question to people, not funny, no funny, also truth is same. We are not doing that. We're not funding them. Just people of India are sympathetic to BLA. Well, then people of Pakistan are sympathetic to those guys. What do you mean? What is happening here? Yeah, the Pakistani military is sympathetic to that guy. And the Indian government is, oh my God, I found a Pakistan version of that chatter. Indian Saya, bro, watch the press conference by Pak is in English, please. It presents so much evidence. If this wasn't such a serious situation with two nuclear nations that have so much smoke for one another in direct contest with one another, I would joke about this more, but goddamn, nah, don't insult me like that. I mean, Hindutva, average India, like Pakistan being screwed. We don't support terrorists attacking trains and attacking innocent people. What do you mean? First of all, you're wrong. There is evidence that they have offered training, at least on reporting that I've seen and I've read on this broadcast. But secondly, the point isn't that, like, there isn't validity to separatist groups or anything like that. The point is like, what does the Pakistani government do? BLA attack trains innocent people. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're getting training from the Indian government because separatist movements are beneficial for India against Pakistan, just like separatist movements are beneficial for Pakistan against India. The point I'm trying to make is, what do each of these states do? Retired Indian Major General Bakshi, India is a nuclear power. We can blast the hell out of Turkey if we want.
That India is a nuclear power. India is a space power. We can blast the hell out of Turkey if required.
Yeah!
Turkey has...
Yo! Chill! Hey, yo! Bro! Brother! Hey! Oh, man. Indian politics is awesome. Indian politics is so crazy with it. He said we can blast the hell out of Turkey with our nukes.
Misbehaving for quite some time.
For misbehaving.
You know, they recruited Erdogan, and you forget that India is a nuclear power.
Indian anchors have also threatened to nuke Canada on television as well. That's pretty sick. Uh-oh, they know. They know Pakistan is Turkish.
Pakistan has used this as a means of subcritical warfare against India. If the international community really wants to be able to look at this and worry about it, the simple solution is to tell Pakistan it has an opportunity for an off-ramp. These are things that the world should have compelled Pakistan to do.
So what, like India doesn't have an off-ramp? Like, I don't understand. No off-ramps for India. It's Pakistan.
30 years ago, and to compel them to implement their promises about taking down this infrastructure. It has not done so.
We can't verify these images ourselves, and this is part of one of the problems, High Commissioner, that both sides, there's a lot of information coming out, but independent journalists, foreign journalists are not being given access. The Pakistanis have said to me, you're free to come to the sites that have been targeted, and we can take you to the line of control as well with the military to show you what's been hit and targeted. And in the same way, the information that we find...
Why do you completely ignore the photo he showed? What? Because it had nothing to do with the answer. Also, why are you getting mad at me? She has an even worse response than me. She literally goes, we can't verify what that photo is. You just like showed me a photo. What am I supposed to do with this?
That we're getting out of, and this image that you've shown was shown at a press conference that the military in Delhi put out as well. But that is part of the problem here as well, isn't it, High Commissioner? I mean, there is an information warfare that's taking place.
Of course you would ignore the photo, Law. No, I'm not. I'm not ignoring the photo. What the guy is saying about the photo is not true. The guy who did the prayer, the dead, wasn't Abdul Rauf Azhar, but Hafiz Abdul Rauf, and the guy himself has issued a video stating he has no relation to the terrorists. But even if he did, I still wouldn't give a shit. Like, what do you mean? Okay, yeah, they're at the funeral of a child and a terrorist is there and they're posing behind it. My point is that photo is completely and utterly irrelevant to the question she asked, which was, okay, you're in a unique situation here as a member of the Indian government, where the Indian government also has links and ties to the separatist movements that are operating inside of Pakistan, the same way that the Pakistani government has links that you're suggesting to terror groups that are operating inside of India. And he literally turned around and was like, well, look at this photograph. And he did not answer the question at all.
Independent journalists can't seem to get access to either side.
Well, look, it is a fluid situation out there. I don't know how helpful it would be to have independent journalists or any kind of journalists wandering around in an area where there is active military operations happening. The logical solution would be, as we've said repeatedly, for Pakistan to take the opportunity of an off-ramp, which we have made abundantly clear, including this morning, that if Pakistan stops attacking our military facilities, the matter ends there. But it is for them to decide.
All right, we're going to have Arun on now so that you guys can yell at an Indian dude instead of me.